I'm just explaining to David what blackgrass is, because they don't have blackgrass in Australia yet, but put some of that in your pocket, David.
No.
You get some of that home.
Dad keeps on sending me photos each day feeding out, and he's saying how jealous he is that I'm in the hot weather harvesting. It's his favourite job on the farm, so he keeps on joking that he's going to head over here next year and do it.
Thanks, James.
Don't miss that plane. I think you're
And
cutting it fine.
I'll see you back here, back at home in January.
I'll see you on the other side. So we've got a busy week. The guys are doing really well, getting some big outputs. Last night they did effectively 270 hectares of combining, which I think is the biggest we've ever achieved. We've got back to cultivation. Freddie's going again, so he's getting the the Joker work completed, and we're just waiting for the parts to turn up for the Toronto, so Raymond can get back on that. He's now currently subsoiling, and they're getting around with the grass cutters on the hedge cutters, getting all the grass around the outside tidied up, ready for the cultivation team, which are going behind. And workshop's busy now. We're having to keep machines running. There's a steering fault on the crawler, which Simon's just off to get a new steering switch, hopefully get that fixed, get that running again, as well as servicing kit, which is starting to come in. So we finished the week last night in Lincolnshire. We've got barley to do up there, spring barley and some oats, and then we'll be moving to Bedford. Down here the guys are doing really well, started on the peas, cracking on with that, just like damp start this morning, which has held us off, but we'll hopefully get going by about 11 o'clock, and this will be a big week for us, fingers crossed.
Hello, I'm Richard. I'm on combine number 2 at PX Farms. This is my second year here, my second harvest. I'm from New Zealand, so I enjoyed it that much last year. I'm back here, and it's much better than doing brake fences at home in the cold and wet. At home we run Lexian 8700, so the same machine as we run here, but we have a 35-foot Macdon on it for the hills to flex. Quite impressed with the Convio though for these conditions. It goes really well. Feeds nicely with the belts. When you drive a combine, it's a fine balancing act of throwing the grain out the back and the sample quality, and then just getting it all balanced about right. So while I'm driving, I'm constantly playing with the settings, especially likes of now when I've changed to a different field of spring barley. It seems like this was sown a little bit earlier, so it's a bit more fit. So I've opened up my drum a little bit, so now I've less cracked grains. You don't want cracked grains because they end up being losses, blowing out the back. And then so you open it up enough so that it's threshing it, but then it's not too much, so that's there's unthreshed ears in the tank, and then I'm playing with my sieves to try and get the most capacity out of the combine and the wind and that. And then, yeah, and you play with the rotors as well, the rotor speed, so you throw all the grain out onto the sieves. So yeah, it's just a game of watching your loss monitors and watching back and behind you in the tank to see what's going on, and then getting out every so often and pulling back the straw and having a check and a run. So I'm pretty spoilt really. Back home it's midwinter, and mum, dad and my sister Sally, I think actually the oldest sister's down as well, and they're doing brake fences, and my brother-in-law, so they've got plenty of cattle behind electric wire, brake feeding them and feeding them supplementary baleage. Dad keeps on sending me photos each day feeding out, and he's saying how jealous he is that I'm in the hot weather harvesting. It's his favourite job on the farm, so he keeps on joking that he's going to head over here next year and do it.
Just having a nice walk in the English countryside around some of the PX Farms crops. And I've noticed rye grass. I've actually been asked what are some of our greatest threats in West Australian farming systems, and this little guy here comes up in the top 5. I believe it is quite a new weed for the growers in this area, and I think I've really got to get people to keep a good eye out for ryegrass and really start to look at some ways to keep a lid on this, because it could potentially be a bit of a genie that's going to pop out and become a real problem. Firstly, ryegrass in West Australia, it's an amazing plant. It'll become resistant to all chemicals very quickly. Within 6 or 7 years of glyphosate, it will no longer die with glyphosate sprays. It's already resistant. It becomes resistant to our in-crop grass sprays very quickly. Your DIM technologies or your FOPs. So we're in West Australia, we're really looking at other ways to have a no prisoners approach on this stuff. Look, the other thing, I'm looking through these sort of plant populations here. I'm very surprised there's not ergot. Maybe it hasn't had time to start building up a lot of the ergot bacteria yet, but we would find this would be full of ergot, and obviously this becomes a problem when it's in wheat or barley. It's rejected and we have to clean the grain. Look, some of the ways that we are tackling it is firstly with mixing our chemistries. Fortunately, we're still allowed to use paraquat, which if we were spraying the margin of a field like this, we wouldn't use glyphosate because we've got to save those shots for in the crop. We'd use different technologies. We'd probably slash it. We would use any other technology except glyphosate because it's too important a tool to lose. We'd also, weed seed management is a super important tool once we start seeing these weeds come into our farming systems. You know, the idea of this narrow margin here getting drawn into the combine and then the seeds blasted out across 12 metres and then slowly leapfrogging its way into the crop is a real big worry. So you can start looking at other weed seed management practices, from narrow chaff rows, collecting seeds, or even now in Australia we're running mills in the back of combines to just pulverise the seed. But yeah, look, I think the big thing is watch this guy, because he will certainly cause some big issues going forward in your farming systems. So yeah, just going on from the concerns about ryegrass seed. So this field here was in barley. Obviously, we've seen the header trail. So all the chaff that's come out of the back of the header is in this 1 metre wide strip. We've had a really nice germination of the barley, etc., as it's been cultivated. So that'll all be killed off before seeding. But the problem with ryegrass, ryegrass tends to not germinate until it gets cold weather. So that ryegrass seed is sitting in here. We're not going to have the opportunity to knock it down with chemicals. This will go into a crop, and then come winter time, in the cold, it'll start germinating. So you're only going to be able to use certain in-crop chemistries to control that, which the ryegrass will get resistant to those chemicals within about 5 to 6 years. And the fact is, in this system, we don't have the opportunity to use glyphosate or other chemistries that are now banned. So this is where we have to be very careful with what we do with that weed seed when it comes out of the back of the combine. Do we just chuck it around and end up with these problems that we're dealing with, or do we start looking at, which we have in West Australia, ways to control those weed seeds, put them in a very narrow row, put them through a mill or into a chaff cart or something to not be caught in this situation.
Right, so the problem we've got is the tyre on the front right here has got a split in it, so when he moves, the crack opens up, the wind just keeps blowing out the tyre, the pressure. So we're now having to use it a bit like a mother bin, waiting for Bush tyres to come out to put a patch in to fix it. So James is just topping his bin up so that he could try and empty his chaser bin while the lorry's just coming down the A52 here, and he'll swing in and then he'll go. James can then go back to the combine to get another load off them to keep them running. They're about 20 minutes behind each other at the moment. Combines have just gone into a smaller field just so that they don't stop and trying to keep the momentum going. I've always wanted to build a mother bin. It's my dream to build a mother bin. I want to do it where, a bit like a combine, you unfold it and it comes out and stretches out for when it's in the field, and then it folds back in to go down the road.
Yep.
Can have it on a retirement Challenger as its job. When I retire the yellow Challenger, it can sit on the mother bin. Yeah. They can only do 3 loads each to Lincolnshire, otherwise they run out of driving time. So they could do about 8 hours 45 minutes driving.
Sorry, 8 hours 45?
Yeah, they can only do 10 hours driving. Physical driving on the road, not stopped in the field.
Break,
yeah.
They're still limited to...
Yeah, 10 hours driving.
Per day?
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's because we're on domestic rules.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we can...
So David was telling me earlier that his lorries, when they run, do 120 tonnes. Our lorries only take 30 tonnes, just to put it into perspective. 120 tonnes.
120 gross.
Yeah. How many lorries, Wesley, have you got in Australia?
On the farm we have 1 truck.
And on the other business?
60 now.
60. Yeah. You gotta love trucks to have 60. Richard very kindly has come from Bush Tyres to come and fix this. He's put a patch on the inside of the wheel. This tractor's been down now a couple of hours. Sort of jiggered us up a bit with the combines, but you put a patch on.
Yep.
And you won't give me a warranty though.
I will guarantee...
Out of sight warranty.
I'll guarantee that this won't go down while I'm stood here. No, fingers crossed, it shouldn't be too bad.
Right, okay, so we'll get the other tyre up that we got from the last job, change that. You'll then send that off for repair.
Yeah.
Major repair. And a major repair, just to be clear, what is it they actually do?
With the inside of the tyre, they'll grind it down further than we will grind it.
Yeah.
And where we stick a patch in with just a cold glue, they use a heat curing glue. So on the outside, where the
so they melt the rubber in.
Pretty much, it's a chemical reaction.
Okay.
It reacts with heat. So on the outside, the filler they use is like a rubber compound, like a gel, basically.
Yeah.
And they fill the outside with a rubber gel, and then they put pressure and heat on it for a couple of hours, and that sets all of the rubber.
And then that's like a 90% repair, is it?
Exactly, yeah.
Whereas what you've done is a 50-50.
Yeah, it is just a patch glued on,
Yeah, okay,
really. Yeah,
fine.
I mean, like I say, 90% of the time, you will never get any issues with these sort of patches.
Well, the thing is, we do 65k with them, got a bit of weight on them.
Exactly.
I don't think it's worth the risk, is it?
No,
it's all right for the field.
Yeah.
But when we go down, we want to go back to Cambridge, I think we'll get the tyre changed.
Yeah. I've definitely repaired a lot worse.
That is not a challenge for us to do that. See you later.
Thank you very much.
I'm just explaining to David what blackgrass is, because they don't have blackgrass in Australia yet, but put some of that in your pocket, David.
No.
You get some of that home. You know, we've given you all the best things, haven't we? We gave you
I
rabbits,
I gave you rye
foxes.
grass. Oops, sorry. No, I didn't.
So, you see it's already shelled out?
Yeah, right.
It's completely shelled out. That means it's now on the floor, ready to reach it and grow. So this is horse close, and this is one particular field which is a bit tricky for blackgrass, and you can see across the field, and it's sort of like in a curve, and then it gets good the other side. The rest of it's okay. It's just this sort of patch, and this will probably, it could be robbing the yield of nearly 30%.
Yeah,
Because
like
the competitiveness of it. So it looks less invasive now it's died off, but actually it's taken over, and you can see the wheat is thin amongst it, and this is the first wheat. So, you know, very tricky.
So what are your chemical options with blackgrass?
Well, we've got the pre-em that we put on.
Pre-emergence, yeah.
Then we put on a post-em.
Yep.
We have to do the roundup before we drill, obviously.
Yep.
Once or twice. And that's key. And we've had some problems if that roundup isn't been on long enough and we've drilled too quickly, or for some reason it's not taken, or it's rained at the wrong time, or it's been slightly the wrong humidity, then that Roundup seems to have not worked correctly. So we're having to almost create a bigger window to check to see if it's turning in colour, which obviously means that some fresh stuff come up in that time. We hope then the pre-em does something, then we get on with the post-em. Some of the issues we had on this last time, it started raining, I can't remember what the date was, but let's say it was something like the 10th of October. And Kieran was struggling to get pre-ems on because the timing of it and the timeliness and the application then window of getting the pre-ems done correctly in the right time, pre the crop coming up, was getting a bit choice. So your effectiveness gets less.
So going into next year, this has set an enormous amount of seed,
Huge.
this blackgrass.
Yeah.
So what'll this paddock go into next year?
Winter barley.
Winter barley.
Yeah.
So does that give you any more chemical
Well, it's
options?
an early drilled, which is a disadvantage in that sense, but it's hugely competitive.
Right. Yeah.
And it should swamp the ground and take away the light and take away the black grass coming.
Yep.
The problem we got, David, here is that we're no different from what you're having to deal with. We're combining these bad bits now, and we're doing that because it's 6:30 at night. We'll get the worst bits off, then they'll have a proper blowdown.
Yep.
Because we can't then afford for it to go into the next
Yes.
paddocks and start taking it through all the fields.
Yep.
It's a numbers game, basically. We just constantly got to be doing things
Yep.
to either encourage it to grow so we can then spray it off,
Yep.
or grow crops in a rotation so that actually oilseed rape historically has been one of the biggest problems for blackgrass. We haven't had the level of control in blackgrass in oilseed rape. We've only had about 70% control.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
And one of the fundamental problems we have is the fact that a lot of chemicals have been took away during my career, which I truly believe that we'd actually be able to control quite a lot of this if we had them back.
So what about if I bring up the big scary Roundup Ready GM topic? How does that go down with you? The public more so? Because I mean, that's just really given us 5 years massive head.
What have you got? Roundup Ready oilseed rape?
Yeah, Roundup Ready oilseed rape.
Do you have any other crops?
No, we've basically it's really just kept with canola, because whilst wheat, they have the technology to do it, but wheat being a food, it's still human food.
Oh, we don't want to do it.
You don't want to do that
because they're using it.
We use oil, so canola, the oil is used in human consumption, but there's no genetic material in oil.
My understanding has been, if the public accepted it, as I'm sure that a lot of them have travelled around the world and been eating it and not ever realised. Going to America, etc. I'm not so sure it's the public perception that's the issue. If they get it here, does there become a point that all of the benefit financially ends up in the hands of the people which sell the product?
So that was always a bit of an argument against it, but you don't have to grow it. So
you can carry on with your conventional.
You can carry on with your conventional. So look, in our program we'd probably average 20% Roundup Ready. Now the seed and technology is quite expensive, but a field like this, where we had a weed problem that we knew we could tackle with that technology.
Oh, you put it so it actually becomes a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. A lot of people are just using that technology across the board, but there's a cost associated with that.
Oh well, actually, on that basis, actually, then it would make sense for us to have.
Yep.
So we would be looking at this field, for example, saying, look, we've got a problem here, but does that not acerbate the issue of having resistance in Roundup?
So you have to really go into a steward. They talk about a stewardship scheme where you learn a bit about chemical resistance, the reliance on chemicals. Again, as I was saying out there, we would never put just plain Roundup on. We'd mix a grass spray with it. We'd tank mix to have 2 or 3 modes of action in there, so you're not relying on just a but it's a pretty good technology.
We ought to ring cousin Michael, see if he has an opinion on the subject. Right, sometimes I answer the phone, and I go, I've answered because you've rung me 3 times. Is there an emergency? Oh no, I just wanted to ask you a question. Oh, there you are. I was just explaining that if I was in my deathbed and it was my last moment to get hold of you, you know, to either pass on a message to the family or for me to tell you what I think, you didn't give me the pleasure.
What do you want and why is it so urgent?
Well, it is actually quite serious, Michael. I'm sat with David Cox. We're sitting in the car. We're talking about the black grass. We're in East Horse Close, and the black grass is quite bad across here.
Yes.
And so I'm showing David what black grass is, basically, because, you know, they don't have it yet. And, you know, I'm explaining the pitfalls of it. And he's talking about they've got Roundup Ready oilseed rape or canola.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether or not actually something like that in our armoury would start to enable us to grow oilseed rape again. It's not going to get rid of the flea beetle challenges, though. But just interestingly, you know, what are we going to do with black grass if we've lost all the chemical control? You know, we're starting to get quite limited on what we can and can't use.
Well, I think the black grass is and that's the biggest problem in rape. I mean, we can just about cope with flea beetle if you, as you're told, but the black grass is almost, well, it isn't almost, it is completely out of control. So if we can organise for some Roundup Ready oilseed rape, that'd be wonderful.
Well, David said he would happily be a smuggler and start bringing it over in his socks.
Bought your ryegrass over.
Yeah, he claims he's bought the ryegrass over. How similar do you think blackgrass and ryegrass are in terms of their characteristics of changing?
Well, I think they're fairly similar. I mean, blackgrass probably has become our biggest problem because it has the capacity to generate so many seeds.
And how long have you had a problem with ryegrass?
Oh, look, ryegrass has been a challenge for the whole of it.
50 years?
Yeah, 20, 30 years, yep.
Yeah. All of your career?
Yeah, so the thing is when they first started spraying, the chemicals worked really well. I mean, so we had a product, what's Glean, sulfon sulfuron, or anyway, one of the sulfonylureas. That work was a silver bullet.
That sounds like Atlantis to me.
Possibly, yeah.
And that for how long?
Oh, look, I reckon 10 to 15 years, and that was gone.
Oh, we didn't have that long with Atlantis, did we?
No, we didn't.
Then we had the dims, so hoe grass.
Oh, crikey!
Hoe grass is dead. That I haven't. I think I've used that twice and it didn't work. Yeah, so they're just your dim technologies.
Yeah, well, they would get. Fops and dims.
Sorry, beg your pardon. The dims, Clethodim is still working a little bit, but your fops are all gone. So, diclofop.
Yeah, well, that's the same with us.
Yeah.
So fops and dims are similar chemistry, and they don't take very long at all to develop resistance.
See, the thing is, I mean, this blackgrass is, they're evolving. As soon as that plant evolved to drop its seeds before wheat was ready, that's when it exploded.
Correct.
So all these plants are just evolving, and whatever you do to them, they're going to get used to it.
Yeah.
Or ryegrass.
I'll tell you what, David, we would quite like to do. If you could draw up a list of what you have, and we draw up a list of what we have, I'd quite like to see, because we talked about this before, didn't we, Michael? Where we want to know what you guys have got and we haven't got, vice versa. Because we keep thinking that we're completely disadvantaged in chemical control, and sort of interested to know what you're using.
Yeah.
If you've even got stuff we have never had, or whether you've got stuff that we have had. We're up in Lincolnshire. We're harvesting the wheat up here. We're currently got 10 lorries on return journeys. I've got 2 combines, 2 chaser bins, one chaser bin's been down with a flat tyre. That's now up and running. This chaser bin just had a broken shear bolt. We've got that sorted, so he's up and running again. They've got a bit of a travel backwards and forwards to the fields, but got David Cox with me from Australia, showing him how to do a wheat harvest. No doubt here in the hour's drive back, he'll have plenty to say about that comment. I lost my dog, found him again. He got in with the chaser bin driver, so had a bit of a round robin tour around the fields looking for him. But we're reunited again, and didn't involve the dog nappers, so that's good. So we're now just heading back to the farm, trying to find out if the Challenger's fixed. Just got back to Cambridge from being in Lincolnshire. Raymond's actually had a tyre, hasn't actually blown, but the webbing's all coming out around the tyre, so we're going to have to change that. So I had to contact Bush Tyres. That's 3 times today I've had to ring them. Plus they've come and done 2 lorries, so effectively that's 4 times they've now been on site. He's just going to change some of the legs. The hard facing Glyn's done in the winter's paid off. It's incredibly hard out there. You can see the checkered plan, and on the others where it's worn, it's now going thin. If we don't do that, the feet fall off. So this is how you want it here, like this. And then you see here, this is all worn now. We'll take those off. Glyn will perhaps build those up again in the winter. He's got about 30 legs on the shelf, so he's going to just keep swapping them out, and then we can rebuild them. Jimmy's over there. He's busy just getting the drinks and water and everything ready for everyone's lunch tomorrow. So hopefully Raymond will get this fixed, ready for the morning. This morning his tractor had Graham Foster Coy came out and put in a gasket because we were letting water out on the side of the engine. That's now sorted. Right, so what's happened to these tracks? They've basically, you can see they've been running on one side. When the bearings failed, it's completely eaten away, and on some of them you get hold of and they've split across them. So yeah, there's one. It's at the point of nearly coming off. The tracks themselves only went on in September last year, so actually they're fairly new. So they're not worn out at all. They've probably lost about, I don't know, 20%, something like that, when you compare them to these, which are the ones which we've just changed on Raymond's tractor. You know, these are quite, you know, there's not a lot left. And in comparison, so poor old Freddie, he's been sat for 4 days now, helping with the forklift, put tracks on and off and everything. He's got more patience than I have. I wouldn't be able to be so enthusiastic.
Thanks for having me, James. It's been a very interesting few days.
Busman's holiday.
Yeah, bit of a
5 day. It's 5 days you're here.
Been 5 days in the UK and a couple of days here on the farm running around. So yeah. But no, it'd be good just to let some of your viewers know that the West Australian harvest is coming on in mid to late October. And we're currently actually looking. We've got some positions open for skilled combine drivers. So
got four positions.
Four more combine driver
and
positions.
And some chaser bin drivers.
Yeah, and a couple of chasers.
So, so if there's a group of friends that want to come out, want to experience Australia,
that'd be great.
Want a job to go straight to.
Yep.
In Western Australia, they fly to Perth.
Flying to Perth, depending on which farms they go to.
Do they apply online for a work visa?
From the UK, online.
Okay.
Online.
Yep.
It's not.
And
hard.
then, there's a form now at the bottom here, which you click, fill in your details, and it will go to you.
Yes.
And then you'll be in contact from that.
Yeah, and good opportunity because some of the guys are on combines at the moment. If they want to keep going, jump off the combine here and keep it going.
And you want to see them towards the end of October?
Yeah, mid-October onwards. We sort of start hay season early October. Some guys maybe earlier if they want to. So
that could fit in very well with the UK.
Yeah, I think it would.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it before.
Yeah.
So let's give it a try.
So if anyone wants an opportunity in Australia, here's your chance. We had a good day combining last night, got finished up in the end, and 62.95 hectares for Graham. Richard did 39.67. Sandy, he did 58.92. He said if I had an extra lorry I could have beaten the others. and Kieran did 63.29. Richard unfortunately was down on his hectares due to damaging the umbilical cord between the header and the combine, which set us back because we had to get it rewired into the fuse board and get a new fuse board on order. So that's what that's why those ones are down. But 220 hectares, so actually plus, so pretty happy about that. Less happy about the yields, of course. Sunday was an extraordinary, terrible day for me. Just you get these odd days where it never seems to start well and doesn't end well. So the phone was ringing at 6 in the morning to tell me that there's an AdBlue problem on a crawler, followed by the track issues we've suffered with on the crawler. That's only just got finished yesterday. Big shout out to Chandler's who've managed to get it fixed, get the parts delivered. Nick from Chandler's at Shefford and Paul organised it, and with the help of Graham Foster Coy, they've managed to get a new set of tracks on. We're up and running, Freddie's going, so I'm delighted that we're actually now cracking on again. So that is good news. And then next phone call at 7:30 to tell me that there was a battery flat, completely failed. The battery had completely failed on a Fendt wheel tractor, which has obviously been used every day. So that held us back. And then the next phone call came not that long afterwards, telling me it had a tyre go on the Toronto, followed by another Toronto tyre go, followed by another Toronto tyre go on that day. We ran some spares, we kept putting them on, and then the tyre company had to keep coming out. Turns out that there's a bit of metal work which had snapped off and gone missing, but stopped the mud from falling down between the two tyres, abrasively running between the wheels and then punching the inside of the tyre walls because the mud is so hard at the moment. Quite a lot of ergot about at the moment, so the colour sorter is getting cleaned and polished, ready for a big programme. I think it's going to be a big year for us to clean ergot. We clean ergot for everybody. We collect it from the farms, bring it here, clean it, deliver it to the mills, and if it gets rejected for ergot, we will do that at our own cost. We do it. So anybody who's got any ergot work wants to talk to us, then give the grain store a call on 01954 210 211 option 3 and have a word of Gordon. We'll be pleased to help you out. Questions, Fendt Crawler, that particular one is under warranty, the other two aren't, so that's a bit of luck. Why do we use a telehandler rather than a loading shovel? I did have a loading shovel. Loading shovels have a habit of creating some destruction because they are quite big and they can knock over pipes, etc. And the turning time on the telehandler is actually quicker for us in loading a lorry than the loading shovel, just because anybody can jump on the telehandler and feel the confidence of using it, as opposed to the telehandler. The loading shovel has to be sort of a One Pacific driver, so we've gone with the telehandlers and unlikely to go back down the loading shovel route again. Fire suppression kits on combines, yes, good idea. I have seen them, not it physically. I've seen them in the magazines, etc. And if you've now launched something, but of course it was too late after I'd ordered these combines and they'd already been delivered. So it's too late for this year. Tons an hour, the dryer can do 60 tons an hour at 5% abstract of moisture. And then we've got the holding bins of 400 ton. So we just run the dryer constantly, and not all the loads generally are wet. It's just the beginning of the day as a rule. So slightly shorter version this week. Sorry about the longer version last time. We just thought it was very interesting that while David was here, that we covered some of the differences between UK and Australia, and that we are in an international market, and we need to see who the other players are. See you next time.